So ESG, each one of those components is incredibly important. It's still a bit woolly. Like it's not totally clear, well, so what's good on ESG and what's bad? And you can say, well, that's stupid. Like, of course it's clear, like carbon emissions are bad, so that's bad for ESG. Totally. But now you have to think about the S part. You're only thinking about climate change, right? Like what happens if you shut down a particular sector of the economy because it's bad for the environment, which, I'm wearing a green shirt intentionally because I believe in that. What happens to people who work in that sector? How do they then make a living? And, eventually new employment comes in, people move, like eventually things move on, but you will be impacting a group of people for a period of time. That's a social impact. You need to think about that. If you stop fishing in a particular area, like what happens to the captains and crews of those fishing vessels? Now, I'm a vegan, so I'm not contributing to that myself anyway, but I at least recognize one action that looks good on one of these components may be hurtful in another one. And, it makes it really tricky. Like, how do you balance all these things out? And maybe the social side is just our own people. So if we got out of oil and gas, if we're an insurer is really big in that space, but we have all these risk engineers who we've hired into that practice, what happens to them? So, do we end up creating our own social problems, laying our own staff off and having to navigate through that because of the environmental choice? Or are we choosing them and continuing on something that's harmful for the environment? There's really, really major, difficult, complex thing to navigate ESG. And that's why I felt it was so important that we need to have more of a conversation about it. And we need some ways to think about what even matters in this context. While the rules and the norms still kind of sort themselves out, we need to figure out how we navigate it, because this is a huge issue. And this is kind of that time where we get to, and the get to is a key, we get to make a choice about how we navigate it versus we arrive at that moment where it's now too late and we have to figure out how do we survive, which is a very different kind of decision than how do I find opportunity. And that's why I just feel like super critical timing and really important for the insurance industry, especially in the US where we haven't been as quick to embrace it. Really important thing for us to start to think about.
That's Bryan Falchuk, and I'm Emma Roloff from Navient, and this is the future of insurance.